The Latin American Revolutions. The student will analyze the age of revolutions and rebellions. From 1500 to 1800, Latin America was colonized by Europe, especially Spain. European nations used mercantilism to gain wealth from their American colonies. Catholic missionaries from Spain and France converted Indians. One major impact of European colonization was the unequal social hierarchy in Latin America. White Europeans were at the top of society. Peninsulares were royal governors sent by the king to enforce mercantilism and maintain order in the colony. Spanish colonists living in America were called Creoles. They had land and wealth, but had no political power. The lack of European women in America led to intermarriage and a large mixed-race population that made up the next level of the social hierarchy. Mestizos were the offspring of Europeans and Indians. Mulattoes were the offspring of Europeans and Africans. Indians and African slaves made up the bottom of the social hierarchy. Indians and slaves were used as workers for Creoles' plantations. From 1800 to 1830, Latin American colonies began declaring independence from European nations and establishing democracies throughout the Americas. To think about, which social group will lead these Latin American revolutions? Why do you think so? Where did they get the idea to revolt and create democracies? Let's take a look at the diagram. African slaves in Haiti. Africans were 6.4%, or 900,000. Creoles in South America, approximately 23%, 3 million plus. Indians in Mexico were about 56%. By the late 1700s, Latin Americans were inspired to gain independence because of the success of the American and French revolutions. The ideas of the Enlightenment inspired independence, especially among the well-educated Creole class. Haiti was the first Latin American colony to free itself from European rule. Haiti was a French colony with 500,000 African slaves working on sugar and coffee plantations. Plantation owners used brutal methods to control slaves. In 1791, Haitian slaves rose in revolt. Toussaint Louverture became the leader of the slave uprising and helped free all the slaves by 1801. From 1802 to 1804, Haitians fought for their independence against Napoleon's French army. In 1804, France granted Haiti its independence and created a republic. Throughout the Spanish colonies in South America, the Creoles had wealth and education but could not participate in government. Creoles embraced Enlightenment ideas like natural rights and consent of the governed. In 1810, the demand by Creoles for political rights led to revolutions throughout South America. South American nations gained their independence because of the leadership of two Creole generals. Even though they could not hold high public office, Creoles were the least oppressed of those born in Latin America. They were also the best educated. In fact, many wealthy young Creoles traveled to Europe for their education. In Europe, they read about and adopted Enlightenment ideas. When they returned to Latin America, they brought these ideas of revolution with them. From 1811 to 1824, Venezuelan Creole Simón Bolivar led an army of revolutionaries against Spain. From 1811 to 1824, Venezuelan Creole Simón Bolivar led an army of revolutionaries against Spain. Bolivar helped create new nations of Grand Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia. Let's put a spotlight on Simón Bolivar, 1783 to 1830. Called the Liberator, Bolivar was a brilliant general, a visionary, a writer, and a fighter. He is called the George Washington of South America. Bolivar planned to unite the Spanish colonies of South America into a single country called Gran Colombia. The area of Upper Peru was named Bolivia in his honor. Discouraged by political disputes that tore the new Latin American nations apart, he is reported to have said, "America is ungovernable. Those who have served the revolution have plowed the sea." Argentinian Creole San Martin led the independence movement in southern South America. San Martin helped create new nations of Argentina, Chile, and Peru. Let's put another spotlight, this time on José de San Martin, 1778 to 1850. Unlike the dashing Bolivar, San Martin was a modest man. Though born in Argentina, he spent much of his youth in Spain as a career military officer. He fought with Spanish forces against Napoleon. He returned to Latin America to be a part of its liberation from Spain. Fighting for 10 years, he became the liberator of Argentina, Chile, and Peru. Discouraged by political infighting, San Martin sailed for Europe. He died, almost forgotten, on French soil in 1850. Unlike the South America Creoles, in Mexico the Indians and mestizos played the leading role. In 1810, a poor but well-educated Catholic priest named Miguel Hidalgo used Enlightenment ideals to call for a revolution against Spain. Hidalgo led an army of 80,000 Indian and mestizos revolutionaries against the Spanish military and Creoles who feared losing their wealth. During the rebellion, Hidalgo was killed, but Mexicans found new leaders to continue the fight another 10 years. The turning point in the war came in 1820 when the Creoles switched sides and joined the revolt against Spain. In 1821, Spain granted Mexico its independence and a republic was formed. Throughout Latin America, new democratic republics were created. But Latin Americans did not have a history of self-government, and many of the new governments were unstable. In many nations, military dictators, called caudillos, seized power and made few reforms for citizens. Latin America became dependent on the USA. Closure activity. Age of revolutions. English, French, American, and Latin American revolutions. Use your notes and textbook to complete the chart below and answer the questions that follow.